Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Lang Mini Studios, and Chase, better known as Kilk, as we talk about Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop gaming. This has been the episode I've been looking forward to doing for probably the longest, especially since it is our campaign finale. And I guarantee you, anyone that's listening, it's not going to end like you guys think it will, because it certainly didn't end as we thought it would for a lot of, especially from Eric.
Yeah, that was interesting.
This was, by the time this airs, this will be just a couple weeks shy of the 3-year mark of what this campaign would have been. 69 sessions. Started with 6 PCs, ended with 4. A plethora of NPCs along the way, and let's just dive straight into this finale as it gained some traction online with all the posts we were doing and we've been making, and with some spicy fights with these last 2 sessions.
Yeah, there were some pretty good ones.
We had a little bit of role play moments though with Tove, saving that monstrous cat at the very beginning.
Oh,
Another honestly amazing role playing moment out of Tove. These moments, the last probably half dozen to 10 sessions. As Chase mentioned, she's kind of a wallflower type player where she won't interject herself or be the main character. So to see her kind of step in more has been really nice and get that comfort. It set a mood though, I feel, for this fight, because several of the pods had all these kind of species and creatures in them, and it appeared as if they were some of them had been sleeping. And if you guys would have probably investigated a little bit more and looked at each of the pods, you would have been seeing that they had experiments done to them. Which would have set up some more stakes for a future reveal, and we'll get to that because there's nothing compared to what happens in this next room. To give a hint, a big plot twist is coming to set up the big final battle. If the group would have investigated they would have found out that the Mind Flayers were testing and breeding a stronger version of Mind Flayer tadpoles, which you guys later found out.
We later found out, yeah.
With proper checks, and at least a tadpole stronger than an average mortal would inhabit. The second thing, though, and I mentioned with Tove, is I put a little monstrous kitten into one of those pods, and for some reason it was still awake, no reason given. It was exactly what I intended for, and she went straight for it, hook, line, and sinker, just because I know with Tove as a player, she has a really big heart.
Oh, yeah.
Although she has little to no desire to be on the podcasts, Brent, since she's your wife, could you kind of let us know did she mention anything about that moment at all? Or if not, how do you think she handled it at least?
I think she handled it exactly on brand for her personality. She was more worried about that cat than if we would have ran into let's say an elf or any other the playable races. We did leave that night and we were kind of talking about, we were more talking about the big fight that happened at the end of the session, but she did kind of bring it up to where she asked if I knew anything metagame wise, what that cat was, where it came from, and I'm like, no, that is something that Nate plopped down. It reminds me of the cat that was on one of the Avengers movies, that
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that Nick Fury was carrying around or whatever, but it was yeah.
I never saw a Captain Marvel movie.
I didn't either, but I know that there was an orange cat in that was kind of monstrous and all that.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so it reminded me of that. But I had no idea what it was. But no, for her, she was like, no, I have to save a kindred spirit because I'm playing a tabaxi. I'm a cat. It's a cat. I gotta save it. Full stop.
And if she wouldn't have, honestly, Flint probably would have stepped in just because he is a cat lover as well as an NPC. And as my brother's player, that's the way he played it.
Nice.
But she convinced everybody it was a toy bar that got her to banish it basically back to Jotunheim once you guys did all the checks and the
it was a Jotun cat.
Yeah, because we found out it was from Jotunheim. So I think we just banished it, right?
I think so, yeah.
And
And
just
then
didn't bring it back
the big
at
twist with that was it just unhinged its bottom jaw like the vampires in Blade 2, as I explained.
Yeah. Like, oh god.
Like the
Because
Super
it
Vampire.
did a stretch.
Mm-hmm. It's like that is not a normal cat.
And then she didn't sense anything aberration about it, so she was a little bit more comfortable about letting it out into
Yeah.
the world again.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is like we were all worried about is this, especially Chase and I knowing what mind flayers are and how they function.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is kind of plague territory, like xenomorph territory. If we think this thing has a tadpole in it, if we can't get the tadpole out, we're killing it.
Yeah, it was gonna be. We were gonna light that thing on fire.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting just to Google real quick. Like, when was the Alien movie?
1979, I believe.
So
believe
yeah, so I
I
wonder
believe.
which came first, chicken or egg, or the Alien movie or the Mind Flayer.
Oh,
That would be an interesting
Oh.
little research topic.
Sure.
that would be interesting. Yeah.
But it was just a quick little role play moment. It was a nice little kind of setup. Chase, before we continue on to probably the third, or if not the second biggest fight of the campaign, because that Spark fight, I think, kind of tied with this one a bit. Tove and Rama, as you said, I was mentioning, is kind of a wallflower type character who doesn't like that center spotlight, but she's playing a tabaxi like a laser pointer. She likes to come up to bat and bat at the light, basically.
Yeah.
Out of almost all 3 years you play, what do you think is the most effective thing I've done with the story to get Tove to kind of...
So obviously her triggers are animals
Yeah.
as a player. If you put one in, if you're like, hey, this player hasn't interacted as much as I would like as the DM, you just find those things that trigger those players.
Especially on like a player level as opposed to a
Yeah.
character.
For sure. And I think to get her engaged, that was a big one, right? She kept every animal that she found except for that one. So I would say just creating cute animals for her was big.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be. It was one of the ways, it was the easiest way to get that player engaged.
For sure.
Is it immediately brought her out, right?
Oh, yeah.
As soon as there's an animal there, she wants to make sure it's okay. Is it cute? What does it look like? It's not a mind flare. Okay, I don't have to stomp it.
I almost wonder if Brent will kind of do that with Vicky. And
Oh.
go ahead and you Googled it, Brent. Go ahead and share the...
Just for my own curiosity, I looked it up. The first Alien movie came out in 1979.
Was Alien based off of a book?
I don't know. But the first Alien movie was 1979, and the first mention of a mind flayer came out of TSR in 1975. So it came out. So the mind flayer was mentioned 4 years before the xenomorph.
The Alien movie was not directly based on a book. It was originally written as a screenplay by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald. Sorry, Ronald.
So
I'm gonna butcher your last name. Shuchet.
We're assuming they're still alive.
Yeah.
Which I mean, we can still.
Well, I'm
pronounce
sorry
their
to
names
the
correctly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to the Shuchet family in case I'm pronouncing that wrong, because I've never actually met a Shuchet to know how to pronounce your
I've
last
never
name.
met one. Yeah. So maybe I don't know. That'd be an interesting to pick their brain. Like, hey, so do you play D&D? Do you know what a mind flayer is?
I know.
Did the mind flares look like that back in 1970 something?
I know they originally came in as like purple squid people, and then Psychonics came in after to kind of be as Gygax and Cask, who and a couple of the other designers that kind of came in, was
Okay.
an antibody
Pretty
to an
close.
infection, basically, from the world. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
that when I heard that from the Tim Cask podcast, I hooked onto that, and I thought that's what druids would be for our world. It's the Yggdrasil's like white blood cells or antibodies to fight off this aberration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole like champions of the natural world and stuff
Sure.
like that. Yeah.
Because we didn't have a druid, and we didn't run into any in that first campaign, even though
We
Freya-
really didn't. Yeah.
Freya was actually the starter of druidic magic, even in Norse mythology
Oh, okay.
and shaman magic.
Interesting.
This episode's been brought to you by... In the age of sagas and songs, don't let your next TTRPG be left to the Norns alone. Let the fate of your character be carved in runes and cast in metal, liquid core, or prismatic glass. Let the players of your table wield dice worthy of Odin, Thor, Loki, and yes, Heimdall. Heimdall dice, dice worthy of guarding the Bifrost with. Claim the glory of Valhalla with HeimdallDice.com. Heimdall Dice, the official Nordic dice of the Hermit's Homebrew podcast. Alright, tabletop gamers. Go dive into our favorite Goblin Run little workshop. The sparks have been flying, and these little maniacs at the Wicked Goblin crew have just relaunched their store. It's packed with killer merch and literally dozens of different designs on almost anything you'd need at your gaming night. From shirts to drinking glasses to dice trays and even totes to carry it all away at the end of the game night. And now they're rolling up to the table with us at the Hermit's Homebrew podcast. It's like your own personal goblin craftsman dressing up your game night. Going into the fight, though, and there's an amazing picture of you, by the way, Chase, on Instagram and X for anyone that's watching, so please check that out. You standing next to that second to last boss. What this picture doesn't capture, though, is that Toy Bar wild spell surged, lost all his hair, and then had enlarge and reduce cast on him to make him look large.
Yeah.
As he walked in as a hairless satyr.
Giant hairless satyr.
Giant hair. Yeah, no wonder why the aversions were
And
afraid of
then,
you.
just fun side thing, I asked ChatGPT to show me what that would look like, and it says I violated its community guidelines because I did not put it in my mind.
Yo, you guys to be naked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not think, without the legs, his dick would just be plopped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, ooh, whoops.
Yeah. Toy Bar, so in the previous room, I had surged, and I had gotten the surge that makes aberrations afraid of me for, X amount of days.
It was like, 72 hours or something like that, or 3
Yeah, and
days.
so I rolled the D6 or whatever for how many days or whatever I was supposed to be, and I got like 7 days or something crazy.
Yeah, it was something crazy. Yeah.
Definitely longer than what the campaign was going to entail. So for the rest of that time, aberrations were supposed to be scared of me. And I ran in there, and I got big, and I yelled, "Toy Bar, the great aberration slayer is here."
Yep.
And
Full Leroy Jenkins.
Oh,
yeah.
oh, jeez.
And I paid for that. I did. I went down that turn. I went down. I didn't get a chance to have another turn after that.
Really?
Yeah. Because I got hit by the giant brain
Oh, right.
like
yeah.
multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got
Um,
psychic blasted.
I thought you came back in the second half of the fight, though.
I got picked back up by Flint later on.
Yeah. And you threw a couple of spells at that. at
Yeah,
things.
I'm pretty sure you chaos
did.
bolted him and
Oh, I did. I'm just saying,
then
like,
something else.
You were
off
out
the
for the
rip, I paid for that because I got knocked immediately.
Because they were afraid of you, man. Welcome to the people.
Well, they were. They were afraid of me except for the big brain. He was immune to being feared.
I will say that I did research combat levels and damage and appropriate things, especially for level 19 to 20 characters, and I was hitting on brand for what should be end of the thing, and
Yeah.
you guys felt it.
And that's kind of the thing. It was like, what's on brand for level 19, 20? The response should be whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
You take their HP, and it should just be like a level 1. They should go down in 1 to 3 hits.
Yeah, it's like just no holds barred, kill them.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I don't think you should be able to
So
take
I
any
took-
more than 3.
I took
Yeah.
all your guys' HP, put it in a pool, divided by how many people, what the average was, and then
Oh,
Divided by
that makes
2.
sense as to why I was going down in one round then, because I have the lowest amount of HP.
Because yeah, you were taking hits that were designed to bring Merrick down.
Well,
So
technically you found out in that final battle that Flint does, because he has 80, because he's only a tier 3.
I know. I could have swore he was higher
Yeah, I
than
thought
that.
he would have been level 20.
Yeah, but no, he was only like 15. We're like, oh man, I'm sorry.
Because this isn't his first adventure.
Yeah, he was
No,
first
when
rodeo.
he left the campaign, he was like level 7 or 8 as a player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was,
So you still said
it
he
was
was
the
the
level that
highest
you
level
came in
player?
as Kilk, so it'd probably been 9 or 10. And we played till 12 or 13.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I just would have imagined that he would have still been higher level after that.
I,
But he
I
was
took
stuck
him-
in Odin's prison for a while.
Well,
Odin's-
being in prison doesn't increase your level.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
He's stuck in prison. He made some bad gambling decisions and got enslaved at a extra dimensional inn town.
Mahadi's, yeah.
Hey, we don't say that word. He was forcibly interned.
He racked up gambling debts.
He racked up gambling
He's
debts.
paying off gambling debts.
Exactly.
But yeah, he picked me up later. But yeah, the brain just wasn't
I was not expecting
feared.
that.
The brain to hit that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it killed Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our
Who's supposed to be tanky.
oh, he took a few hits like a champ, but just wasn't in the cards for good old Kyle.
It did not play out well for him by the end of
Yeah.
the battle. And then it didn't play well for the group as well for my surprise hallway monster, which you picked up halfway through the battle why I did it.
Well, I mean, when you said Chase is going to know what this is, and then when you put it down, I'm like, that's the thing from the last campaign. Because it's the same model. Like, it's the same thing that he used.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, great.
It's upstairs in my
okay.
Funko Pop collection.
I was looking around like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay,
Yeah,
it's gone.
and I remembered because it was
Okay.
my first actual boss battle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And no, I think it was like my second or something.
second one, because the first one was the Hydra in my version of Castle
What, a
Amber.
Hydra?
Yeah, in Castle Amber.
Okay.
That red dragon you're pulling out that one day, you're like, what's this all about? This ain't coming, is it? I'm like, no, this is from last campaign.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I found that at Michael's.
yeah. But I had remembered it not being difficult, but it had a fun
Mechanic.
mechanic. Right? Every time you hit it, it screamed in pain. Mm-hmm. Because it was just a bunch of bodies meld together.
Yeah.
And so every time you hit it, screamed in pain, and like everyone took psychic damage. And I'm like, oh, okay. And because of how big it was and where you put it down, I was like, oh, this is
And
the
yeah,
idea of
it
this
was
is to push us into
made of
the-
my chondroid bodies in this, which I'm kind of happy the Clark in our last campaign was not here because she probably would have like attacked me. Just how much she loved those
Oh,
mushroom
the little
people.
myconids.
Yeah,
Little mushroom peeps.
yeah, it was fun.
and you even called out halfway through the battle. It's like, I see what you're doing here.
I kind of realized it when you put it down, when I was like, what is this? Oh, sure. Because otherwise it'd be too easy to fight this thing just around the corner. Just peeking out.
Yeah, just
blah,
peek
blah,
around.
pop
Yeah,
back in.
fire. Peek around. Fire. I would admit though, when he put down that red blob, I legitimately went, we could be done right here. We could legitimately be done right here, and Nate's now got to do a fourth campaign to try to fight the
So
ogres
for-
here.
Well, especially because Toy Bar had already gone down.
Yeah,
By the time you put that down, I was already down. And
yeah.
I'm
It's like,
"Ugh."
oh, that one of our heavy hitters is gone.
And I purposely didn't say anything. Right? I knew what that thing did
oh yeah,
but I didn't tell
way
anybody else at
to
the
way to
table.
not metagame and let us figure it out
until
yeah.
it happened, and then somebody hit it, and then it screamed damage, and I'm like, all right, so this
No,
thing does this one.
the
Yeah.
closest you said to metagaming, and I didn't even mind. And you're just going to want to be careful being next to that thing.
Yeah, I remember. I remember you saying that one, and I was just kind of like, "Yeah, it's probably got a 15-foot reach. Why?" But then,
It's like, no, it's got a 4th edition Aurora.
yeah, and I forget who hit it first. And I just kind of went, "Oh God," because it wasn't me.
It doesn't do a ton of damage, right? But it does hit everything around it.
Well, yeah, that's true. And but yeah, every time you hit it, it deals.
It
I think it was
screams.
20 damage.
Something, yeah.
That's a lot, for some characters.
Yeah,
Not for Merrick, but
when we fought it, we actually, the first time I fought that thing was the first time it was during the Wrathgriff battle.
Yeah.
We fought that and Warlock Wrathgriff at the same time.
oh wow, okay.
Plus a few Mind Flayers, I think, were
And a
thrown in there.
beholder.
oh, well, okay, wow, that's a pretty
There's a
good fight.
level 10.
That was a pretty good fight.
Yeah, but we just threw Xingshi at it, and he just sat there in front of it, and it never did anything to him. Because Xingshi couldn't be hit.
Xingshi, yeah. Xingshi was very broken as a player. I've actually took away a lot of his magic items and then just gave him those 2 artifacts.
Bro, Xingshi had the quiver. When you reminded me of that a few weeks ago, Xingshi had the quiver of holding.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he-
putting magical.
He would put magic javelins in
and
there.
junk.
So
yeah.
Javelins or swords or
So
anything
that
like
he
that.
could just throw magic javelins at people if he wasn't in melee range.
And the javelin of lightning bolt's just nasty.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
He had it.
He paid like So the magic item price for an endless quiver, he paid like 50% more just to be able to have a golf club bag of weapons.
Yes.
Yeah, it was funny.
He was like
it was
Casey Jones from like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and
just
that
had a
was the
bunch
idea.
of junk on
good.
his
Dude,
back.
he had so much health.
That's awesome.
At the level we were at, he had so much health. He had advantage on pretty much everything.
Brute fighter.
He's a brute fighter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
UA.
Yeah.
He was a brute fighter. You know, he couldn't be hit because of the cloak of.
And couldn't be crit because he had adamantium armor as well.
Yeah, like it was just crazy. Everything rolled with disadvantage trying to hit him.
Until he got hit, but then it respawned.
Then it
the
re-rolled
next
with
round.
disadvantage. Like
Yeah.
it was wild.
So what was like your guys' favorite part of this fight?
For me, it was just fighting an Elder Brain. That's something I've never fought before. So I was just like, I was genuinely afraid. I are worried that we were gonna TPK. I mean, that was a legitimate thing in the back of my mind, but I still just couldn't go to the fact like I'm finally fighting a damn Elder Brain. You know, that was just the coolest thing there, and it lived up to the hype. You know, it had its psychic attacks, it had its wave attacks, it had all of this junk going on. And then you had the red blob monster that showed up. I don't know what its official name is.
For anyone that's listening, if you wanted to Google the Funko Pop, that was the big Tom monster from season 3 of Stranger Things that they milled into it. That is the large Funko Pop I used for this miniature.
And what's it called?
It was the Tom monster, something like that. I'd have to
okay.
Google it.
Okay. But yeah, with that, it was a really cool. It was a really cool fight, being hemmed in on two sides. There's really no escape. We couldn't run away unless we had to go through that thing. No,
The force field.
Oh, yeah, it was a force field. Yeah,
Force field that cut
They
off.
force fielded it. Yeah.
Tom/Bruce Monster Funko Pop is the official name for it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
It was
so
what
yeah.
this guy literally turned into. It was just a bunch of bodies that. Yeah.
So you know, it was that was a really well designed fight, and it was legitimately one of those ones where I was like, this is actually a really good fight for like a campaign ender. This was freaking, and that was the fun part. Is I knew that we had something more coming down the pipe, and I was like, that should be worse than this.
Yeah.
But no, that was really cool. It was fighting,
And that final boss battle maybe was a step more difficult, but it was just as, if not.
I think it would. Now this is no dig on anything. Me personally, I felt the fight against the Overseer went better than the fight against the Elder Brain.
It's because
we were. I say it because we were prepared.
You were prepared and locked down all three red chips.
And so I knew that. And also going into it, we knew this is the last battle. Do not hold anything back.
Yeah,
you have
use
nothing
it.
else to prepare for. If you got it, use it. There is literally no other time than now. So going into the Elder Brain fight that was before this, we kind of held back a little bit because we knew we have another fight coming up.
Yeah.
What about you, Chase? What did you think the best part was? Or your favorite part?
I felt that of that battle specifically, I liked the return of an old monster. An old boss, right? That's something that you see a lot in video games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fight a boss at some point and you're like, oh man, that was hard. And
And
then
it
later on, that boss is like a normal minion.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, whoops.
It helps kind of increase that living world, the connect things. And that's why I do. And that's why I do cameos.
Yeah. I thought that was cool. The only thing that I had that I felt was goofy about that fight was that the Elder Brain could hit the whole room.
With a psychic pulse.
Yeah. And with how strong that ability was, it effectively meant that nobody was going to be in the room. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that that was a bad thing.
No.
Like, Toy Bar got knocked down by it. Kyle got knocked down by it. But as soon as we saw the damage that did,
We
immediately
knew there is no way we're just going to sit there.
nobody's going into that room. And it was unfortunate because the room was big. You designed the whole room.
Yeah.
Like, it looked great.
And then there were a couple of mind flayers kicking around in there.
Yeah, there was a few of them in there.
But it was the super mind flayers. It wasn't the regular mind flayer. It was the
There was one or two.
Uthrids.
Uthrids. Yeah.
And then there was a Uthrid Prime, as I put it on my thing, a legendary Uthrid
That Crimgash just sat there and
then
smashed
just
on
he
and smashed
killed it
on
in
and
2
smashed
rounds, and it did not get to do anything.
Yeah, because he tripped it and he was just like
Just
blinded,
wailing
tripped,
on it.
laying
Yeah.
down.
He got to live up
Just
to
kept going.
being the reputation of Xingshi's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that.
Just
He did.
going ham on it.
And we didn't know that. We just thought it was a regular Mind Flayer. I'm like, why is this Mind Flayer not dying? I've been doing so much damage.
It's because he has 200 HP.
Yeah.
He had more hit points than Merrick.
Yeah, he had a lot. I like that. Unfortunately, we did forget a few rules during that combat, so it made the combat even more goofy, I would say.
Yeah, well,
But overall, I thought that was one of the best fights in the campaign.
yeah, absolutely.
I was
From you know me, I like the strategy portions
you like
of
juicy
combat.
combats though, so
And it made, and I didn't help. I'll help Vicky if she asks me.
yeah.
that's not what she told you to do.
Right.
She was getting irritated. These
She's
last two
getting-
combat.
Yeah, because I'm trying to let her play as much as she can.
Yeah,
Like, she always worries about doing something that's going to mess up the party and doing something to the party. And I keep telling her, and I've told her this for like 3 years, that's not something you even need to think about.
no, it's not.
If we think that you did something so egregious that it messed up our campaign, we would tell you.
Yeah, and we would do everything in our power.
We would
to
just
stop
retcon it real quick.
Yeah, like whoa.
Like,
You know, like if you say I want to do this, and we think it's
Even
like,
if you did, you just that's part of D&D. You live with
Yeah,
the consequences.
you live with
deal
it,
with
yeah,
consequences,
yeah.
and
and
that's
no
okay.
one's gonna shame,
No.
especially at this table.
no, God,
I don't
no.
care. If Toy Bar would have died because of a decision she made, I would have been like, all right, I'm going to make a new character. Let's
like
go.
yeah, like
I don't care.
literally, Merrick could have been done and dead 50 sessions ago. You know,
Yeah,
how
you
mu-
handed your character sheet in after your head got sucked out.
yeah, my head got Merrick's brain got eaten.
the first
by
thing you did was
intellect
hand his
devour.
character sheet
First
over.
thing I did was give him my character sheet because Merrick could have been dead right there,
And that's the end of the story.
and that's no big
It's
deal.
It's the same
It happens.
issue that I actually have with a lot of animes.
Okay.
I don't like the fact that there's plot armor.
Oh, everyone has plot armor.
Everybody. All like the cast of, and I get it, right? It's a marketing thing. You don't want your main characters to die. You can't market main characters. You can't make money off of dudes that died. Unless your name's Ace. So my thing is, I like shows like Attack on Titan. Because at the beginning, like people
People were dying,
what
yeah.
would have been like main character adjacent
Yeah.
were dying.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, hell yeah, I love this.
Even at the end,
The-
like characters.
Well,
that
that's how The Walking Dead
Yeah.
and Game of Thrones got to be so popular. Is that no one is safe.
Kind of, yeah. They had a
Kinda,
little bit
yeah.
of plot armor.
But then
Mhm.
towards the end of the series, yeah,
the main cast appeared, and like okay, they're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the same thing that happened with me with Attack on Titan. Even towards the end, when the show got really goofy, like you realized who like the main five were,
Mm-hmm.
and you knew they were never gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I've talked to you about
Mhm.
before is if I wanted to play a dungeon crawler that was just, you know,
Brutal.
smashing people, like,
a Diablo.
and I'm a superhero that is just, you know, running through things, I'd go play Diablo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
I'd go
yeah.
play Diablo or Path of Exile, and then I can do those things, and that's fine. I like to have to think about my moves at D&D.
Okay.
and that's a very OSR mentality. Like
yeah,
an old school thing of this is deadly, and that is something I've adjusted since you started playing. Is just making those consequences sting even harder.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because I'm a player that is okay. If my character dies, I'm not going to be upset at all. I thought Toy Bar died in the last thing, and I was just like, all right, well, here's my.
It's like
attack.
okay, yeah, like yeah. People
I
die.
wasn't mad. I wasn't upset.
Yeah, people.
It was
die.
one of those things where I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, I guess I won't be able to do these two things. And that was it, and then I moved on. Because then she worries that I think that if she made a decision and somebody died because of it, like she would legitimately feel really bad. Like she would think that she messed up the camp.
Well, that's because
somebody's stuff
she's an
and
empathetic person, and I get
Highly,
that.
highly empathetic. I will.
Yeah,
admit.
and
Yeah.
I get that, and I can respect that. You know, she doesn't want to ruin someone else's fun.
Right.
Totally understand that.
And
Then she's the newest player at the table out of all of us.
true. Yeah. But I do my best not to make the choices for her.
Yeah,
I
don't
try to
tell
whenever
her
she
what to
tells
do.
me, "Hey, what do you think I should do?" I try to give her, you know, 2 or 3
Options.
different options. Like, you
Yeah.
can do this, or this, and I was like, they're all fine.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't-
and
doesn't
that's the
matter.
thing. Yeah, is like they are all legitimately work. They could work.
It would be interesting to know what her opinion of that fight would be,
Yeah.
because she does not have, you know, she doesn't play tactical video games.
Oh, okay.
Like she
Mhm.
gardens. She does like
Yeah.
outside of D&D. There's no
Looking at Reddit or looking at this.
military
Yeah.
tactical
Oh, okay.
thinking or
Mhm.
any of that. Even though she was in the Air Force for a while, but like
What did she do in the Air Force? I know she's told me.
she
but-
worked on Predator drones.
That is fucking cool as shit.
She was, I think she was like a mechanic for the drones or something.
Oh, that's fucking cool as shit. God damn. All right.
It'd be a good time to say that this podcast is basically first responders or veterans or former law enforcement
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or
Almost all of
adjacent
us,
or
yeah.
frontline people.
Yeah, we've got all frontline responders.
The next part though, I was a little bit surprised though that my least favorite part of this fight was actually the mythic health bar and resetting to its new form. I just felt it dragged out the fight more than it had to.
Okay, I can agree with that. I can say that I felt that the stage 2,
Yeah.
right, of the boss fight, I don't believe it added anything to it.
No.
Right? You were like, oh, now it gets up and it's walking, and I'm like, but what does that do other than let it move,
It gave it more.
5 or
It
6
gave
feet?
it, instead of legendary actions, mythic abilities, that a more in depth kind of legendary thing, and then it gave itself 1 or 2 more abilities.
I
I didn't
didn't
think it added anything to the fight. That was all.
No.
the changing of its tactics I liked. A better, I think not necessarily a better way, but a different way to do that is not to reset the health bar. Just have it have a bigger health bar, and just when it got bloodied, then it changed. Type
Yeah.
of a situation.
Or the other way would
Or
have
just
been,
keep the health bar the same, and then it ramps up at bloodied like an orc.
Yeah, exactly. It ramps up. Yeah,
Or-
where it's like, oh, I gotta take this seriously.
instead of it like
Yeah.
getting up and walking, you could have had it just break out. You could have had it just break out of its
Jar.
jar now that it's bloodied, and round 2 is okay, now you have to fight this thing while it's thrashing at you out of its jar. It's not in like the health jar
that
thing
or-
anymore.
Either that or still give it the legs, maybe not quite as high, but just then if I would have got like even a little stress ball that looked like a brain and just put that on top of the legs and then the jar, and it's just like this walking around on tentacles.
I just didn't think walking gave it any.
No, it just made it look. It's like a cat getting bigger. It made it look
Yeah.
even more
Yeah,
threatening.
it made it more intimidating, but yeah, like the mobility inside that room,
That
it was
little room
it was
is
big
all it
enough for
was.
us to move around, but generally not for it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
only going to be able to move.
It gave me some. It gave me severe psycho demon vibes or cyber demon vibes, whatever they are from Doom.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Where you walk on the corner and there's the mechanical spider with the big brain. It's like, I got the Gatling gun on the front.
It looked cool, but yeah,
did.
that was about it.
No, it absolutely looked cool,
I was,
and it was an excuse to use some of the skinny minis.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can 100% support that.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the fact that it got up
Mm-hmm.
and walked around for
A little bit
a little bit
before we.
because I tried to
Finally
trip it with
killed it.
Xingshi or with Kremgash.
Kremgash,
But
yeah.
it's because it was a gargantuan. It would
Yeah.
couldn't or something.
Yeah.
It would have to be large.
It had to be large.
Yeah,
yeah.
in
Because
order to
I was
trip it.
even like, I can enlarge him
Can we?
and then see if he can't trip
Yeah.
the thing. But since it was considered gargantuan, even if he was large, it wouldn't have been able to trip it because it would have been.
You mentioned earlier some of the rules that were forgotten. So what do you feel like maybe the critical fumble as a character or a player?
Honestly, the big one there was a big one from Toy Bar.
Yeah.
Totally forgot that everything was supposed to be afraid of me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That happened.
And we did that in the final battle as well.
And we
that-
forgot in the final battle. None of those things should have even been able to come close to hitting me.
Yeah, but it's also again like
Outside of the beholders.
no one
and
should
obviously
really
him.
feel bad about that because it was a special rule that got tacked in on the fly.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
a standard thing.
The way I would have remedied that in hindsight is just because we have those little round things that go around the base, is just find that one that says fear on it, or just find one of those
sure,
little
yeah.
round things that we should have put it around your
Oh,
base
okay,
as a
yeah.
reminder.
Yeah.
Like,
That,
hey, what is? Oh, right, everyone's afraid of me. Yeah.
um.
Or all the enemies are. Yeah.
But for Toy Bar, that was one, and then there was the rule that we talked about when we were talking about meeting or beating armor classes and saves. And
Oh,
stuff
Yeah.
like
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which I didn't, because it was like 11:30 at night at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
was-
like,
it was
this
drag-
is
we
not
were tired.
sinking
Yeah.
in exactly
Until
what
we went to work like the next day, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
You had
this is what she
sleep,
was trying to
you
talk
had
about.
fresh brain.
this is what she was trying to say, and I'm just like, I'm still not like, that's exactly what I was saying. And then you explained it out a little bit more in person, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. So basically, TLDR, basically a ruling was made, and then a few rounds later, the opposite ruling was made
Yeah.
at the table, and it was just.
And it happens.
And then Tove made the comment, "Well, if that happened, then a few two turns later, this should not have happened."
Mm-hmm.
and
And
I
then
think
there was
it-
a little confusion. On
And
how,
and for some reason the math wasn't mathing in our
yeah,
heads.
and I was
gears
sitting
were
there,
skipping.
and I was thinking about it, and then I
Yeah.
realized what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized that like everybody else was confused except for me on what she was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Wait a minute.
we can either hash this out for like the next 20 minutes or we can just move on. And that's when I told her, I was like,
Or we
I
can-
understand.
yeah.
I told her, I was like, I see what you're saying, but like,
And in hindsight, what the difference is
Toy
we're
Bar
hitting
wouldn't have been
ACs. AC and saving throws were both getting hit heavily in all these two battles.
Yeah.
And when people go, I was doing this to hit or whatever, I was thinking probably the opposite of
Yeah.
whatever it was.
And
It
that's and then we were kind of talking about it later.
It's the reason Toy Bar should have been up. Remember when I was like, I walk over to Kyle and I was going to do the reincarnation.
Yeah.
But because we had retconned that Toy Bar didn't go down.
Yeah.
Because the things shouldn't have hit my save if that was the way that
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it knocked me. The real issue was, I think that Tove got concerned that we were getting ready to be all killed.
Mm-hmm.
And she realized that if the ruling had gone the other way, like a turn before, Toy Bar would still be alive and able to continue fighting and shooting,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which would probably win the fight for us.
I know. And then I did send apology over to
He
Discord.
did. Yeah, he did.
And then I never got an acknowledgement on it from either following up, but
Oh.
I just figured she saw it.
Oh no, she did. It's just she's like, again, I showed it to her, and I'm like, yeah, Nate said this, and she's like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, yeah. It's
And then I
it's
sent
like,
the Adam Sandler thing. It's like, I'm smart, I'm stupid, you are smart.
Yeah.
I am ugly, you are pretty. I'm so sorry.
well, it's kind of one of those things where it's like no feelings were hurt, and it's just
No.
like, oh, okay, and and it all worked out in the end. So
And
it was
that's
like,
the way to sometimes
Yeah,
do that is you
it's-
take it a little over the top,
Yeah.
just like how I did, just like
Yeah.
to take the edge off, just in case.
yeah, no, yeah, and that's why there was no response from this because, oh, okay, cool,
Sure.
and
That's how you resolve
Yeah.
table issues.
And yeah, and long story short, it's when you're rolling to attack a creature, either armor class or save, ties go to the attacker. Because you have to meet or beat the number. Armor class is 20, you had to hit a 20 or higher. Pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah.
So, and that's weird because we're used to ties going to the defender. But,
Right. Yeah.
like logically. But, whatever. You know, it's
It
all
is-
good.
it
It
is
worked
what it
out, and
I think saving throws are the same way. You have to hit that DC.
you have
or
to
above.
you have to meet
Yeah.
or beat the number. Yep.
And
Absolutely.
then the other one was reincarnation.
Reincarnation, yeah.
I totally forgot that it was a ritual.
Yeah, an
So
hour.
And it was
ritual.
an hour long?
I think it
That was 10 minutes.
10 minutes or an hour or
It
something.
is an 1 hour.
Either
1
way-
hour.
Either
Good
way, it was
Lord.
long.
Yeah,
and I
it was
like,
too long.
There's no way we're gonna have time to sit here and do a ritual in the middle of.
So
No, absolutely. Absolutely not.
by
Yeah.
by the end, we'll get. So just for people that weren't there, by the end of the thing, everybody was down except for Toy Bar, Tove, and Crimgash.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crimgash.
Yeah. 3 of the 8
And
allies were still.
Kyle was dead.
And Kyle was dead. Yeah. Legit dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Toy Bar took his sword
yes.
Yes,
and
she
that
did.
potion.
And that purple potion.
Yeah, I showed
And
you what that potion was, did I?
Yeah.
Storm Giant.
Yep.
It
Potion of
would have
Storm
been
Giant
great for
strength.
you.
I had a belt of fire giant strength, so I was alright.
But what does that make it?
a 28 or 29.
Yeah.
The belt does?
No, the
No.
belt's 24?
No,
22. It's
22.
22. It's
22. The
Yeah.
potion makes it 29. So, like, you would have been hitting a lot harder
3 points.
if you were doing
If that.
all kinds of stuff. It's just good for tanks.
Yeah.
Grapples, strength grappling, all kinds of stuff.
When's
if
the
you
last
were-
time Merrick grappled anything?
It's true.
So yeah, at the end of the fight, you go, and this is the end of the session. Is like the last thing I do before we end is I go to touch Kyle. It was 11:30 at night at this point, or
Yeah.
almost midnight. We
Yeah, it
were,
was
we
almost
were turning in.
midnight. Yeah, we were
turning into pumpkins, and you're like, I cast reincarnate. I'm like, oh okay, and then look it up later that next day. I'm like,
That
oh,
doesn't
that
work.
that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
He does not turn into a Goliath. I'm sorry, I got a retcon.
Yeah, we were going to Goliath him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was unfortunate he didn't make it through,
He's in Valhalla with his grandfather, so.
which was him going down was the catalyst for Vicky's.
What happens in the next fight?
Yeah.
There's before we get to that big reveal. Just stay tuned, trust me, because it is great. Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday, Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.